Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'da. Habibti fillah. A brother who calls himself Hamza a Salafi. I want to address his email, and actually for years I've done my best to try to avoid these issues and allow my YouTube to be a place of hopefully benefit for those who benefit. If you don't benefit, don't listen. It's very easy, it's very simple. And we try to make it a place of intishar al-khair and benefit for us related to our deen and hopefully aspects of our dunya. So Hamza a Salafi, first he didn't even greet us. He just said Khalid Green. So first I'm going to start by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. He said Khalid Green, ومتى أصبح الجر وتعديل قيل وقال احترم نفسك. He said, when did jar and ta'dil become he said, she said, especially when it comes from the major scholars of Islam? What have Pubs or Troy done except translate the speech of the ulama regarding innovations and its people like Hajuri, Halabi, Ma'rabi, Ibrahim Raheli, etc.? You defend Abdurrahman al-Adani, may Allah have mercy upon him and forgive him, and you use as a proof of his manners and him having knowledge. Well, I would think that would be sufficient proof if someone has knowledge to defend him. And you use as a proof his manners and him having knowledge, etc., but turn a blind eye to those things which he done, which oppose the minhaj of the Salaf, such as praising Muhammad al-Imam and going against the speech of the major scholars in regards to affairs in Yemen, etc., just like the Arabs say, Laysa hada ishkak. And I can't see the way it's... And clarify to the people that Hajuri is a misguided innovator. Why are you so scared to read the books, to read the words of the scholars? And clarify the reality of this man to the people. How much more people will you misguided with this watered down minhaj of yours? So what if Abdullah Adani said to go seek knowledge with Hajuri? By Allah, that was a mistake on his half and a grave shortcoming. The major scholars have spoken about this individual, mention his serious mistakes in Aqidah and Minhaj, yet you advised Masakin Taliba to go to him. To go to who? Who is he? I'm getting lost in his kalam. Anyway. Na'udhu billah min hadha dalal. This and many of your videos just show your weakness in knowledge and lack of understanding in regards to the minhaj of the Salaf of Ahl Sunnah. And you live in Dammam, right? I don't know what that really means. Oh, let us go to Sheikh Muhammad bin Ramzan or Sheikh Abdul Qadir Junaid and ask them about these issues. Or let's go see Sheikh Rabi or Sheikh Ubaid and see what they say. May Allah guide you. May Allah guide this brother as well. A few points he mentioned here. And one I just want to say, as people who listen know, in general, I don't feign knowledge. But I do feel some sort of obligation, because it's been a lot of years that I've sat with scholars, learned some Arabic, and some major scholars. So I feel the need to share that because it helps my community, which is an English-speaking community. So you, as they say, hopefully you speak to your level and don't go beyond that. As far as it being an issue of minhaj, he said, what pub? Okay, let's deal with the first thing. He said, jar wa ta'dil. So first, I didn't describe jar wa ta'dil as being qil wa qal. Because jar wa ta'dil, as how many ulama, as is known, if it shows me this person has some khalal in his understanding of jar wa ta'dil, as the ulama mentioned, and as is known, this deals with the ruwat. for you to come around now and say that a lot of individuals that we have today are thiqah, as in the time of the Ruwat, this fihi nadar, this takes some looking at to. And Sheikh Salih bin Fawzan has kalam about this. Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, these are major scholars, but they might not be in your eyes. I don't know, because you've only mentioned a few names, and some of them are not major scholars, with all due respect. And again, I'm not here to belittle any of the scholars, but we have to know that scholars have different manzil. And for one, the balad, meaning this Saudi Arabia, doesn't recognize some of the scholars you've mentioned as being major scholars, but whereas they give that to Sheikh Imam Fawzan, which is well known. Likewise, Imam Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, Muhaddith, who's one of the seniors in Medina, and there's so much more, but this is not the place nor time as far as talking about those things. What have S-Pubs or Troy done except translate the speech of the ulama? Fihi nadar as well, with all due respect to our brothers, who have always held as our brothers, Salafi brothers, and know many of the brothers, especially associated with S-Pubs, and who do some dawah with them. As far as if you just look at their forums, and I'm talking about mainly Salafi Talk, which is kind of a strange concept anyway, Salafi Talk. You would think it would just be a place of spreading ilm. But I'm talking about most of these types of forums. And most of the forums you find a lot of just qil wa qal, and if you disagree, that's fine. But I think the hujjah is it's clear, and if it's not even worth, it's like trying to describe that the sun is out. The sun is out. I can't really do much more than the sun being out. And just one example, I'll give you one example from my research now. I was looking up something because I'm trying to talk about how the Salafis, our role in refuting Ahl Bid'ah. And Salafi publications, in fact, in Troy, have been in the forefront, along with Brixton Masjid and some other masajid that have done a lot of work with confronting terrorism. And I went to one of their websites, techfidi.com, which is associated with S-Pubs. And I was kind of amazed, and I put this in my research. I said, sometimes you'll find from some of the brothers, which is not representative of the dawah, that it's not always academic in its criticism. What I mean is, for example, they have a series called the Tekfidi Retard series. Now, really, I just don't understand how that advances their argument and is going to, and this is the problem. A lot of times the ibarat, the language that's used, and of course language is how we articulate and it's how we communicate, how we make people understand our ideas. These kind of things, they detract from the argument. So you have a lot of this. You also have a lot of qil wa qal, meaning busying the people with things that are not bringing them closer to Allah. For example, and I'll give you an example, I've always been in opposition to spending excessive time spreading and making imtihan of people about Ma'rabi mubtadi'ah. That's my mawqif. Sheikh Rabi is clearly detailed in book after book, treatise after treatise, and many other ulama from Ahl Sunnah. However, are those issues that the people in the West who don't speak Arabic need to deal with? Mostly, a lot of communities and people have been tested and attacked and lied about for being supporters of Ma'rabi. For example, one of the issues with Tahir, they accused him of being a supporter of Ma'rabi. How could somebody say that? This man has done his scholarship here in Saudi Arabia with major scholars. He's ma'ruf indahum. He's well known. But yet, as a way to detract from his scholarship and what he's doing, that people say, and brought that to Sheikh Rabi even, that he is a supporter of Ma'rabi, when I'm not even sure if he's ever even listened to one tape of Ma'rabi. and Allah knows best. That's just an example, because we don't want to spend, we could, these things require a book, and I'm sure they'll be in the history books with the backlash against some of those organizations that's taking place now. Wallahu musta'an. So there's countless examples, and I can I mentioned in my videos. If you care to go back, go back. If not, I'm not going to debate with you and get into it. May Allah guide us and you. I mean. Tayyib, you also mentioned about praising Sheikh Muhammad al-Imam, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, and may Allah forgive him and forgive all the ulama for their mistakes. And some of the major scholars in Saudi Arabia, it's mainly a few in Medina, like Sheikh Ubaid, Sheikh Rabi, I've read, and some others who criticize Sheikh al-Imam, who knows better the affairs of Ahl Yemen than the Yemenis that are on the ground? Who knows better? And then we look at the Natija. If Ahl Sunnah, and I believe this firmly in my heart, and I wrote about this in my research, showing that sometimes from ijtihadat between Ahl Sunnah, that they differ. They differ sometimes over ijtihad. That's gonna always be until Yawm al-Qiyamah. And I believe he was most correct. Now, those ulama, Sheikh Rabi, even in his criticism, mentioned that Sheikh Muhammad al-Imam knows the Aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah, has refuted the Shia Houthis, and all this stuff has spent excessive amount of time, but then all of a sudden they throw all of that, what he's done, not thinking that iqra applies here, meaning that you're forced to do something for the maslahah of the dawah. And I believe it's the maslahah. I've talked to Salafis coming out of Yemen just recently, one a Yemeni talib al-ilm who went to Ma'bar to visit Sheikh Muhammad al-Imam. He said the da'wah is going. He said they're still busy, and I know people who live in Dar Hadith Shihr right now, and who live in Aden as well, and Fiyush right now. The da'wah is still pumping. Akhwan al-Muslimin is taking the heat from the Houthis because of the weakness of Ahl Sunnah and the weakness of the situation. Yemen is in folda. It's a civil war. There is no benefit right now in, they're continuing a losing fight. And who suffers? The people with their cholera, with all this. This is a whole nother story. My point is, for the maslahah of the dawah, it seems to me that it's very clear that what I heard, now I haven't read this, what Imam Fawzan said, the Yemenis know their affairs better, and other great imams that are known, Sheikh Wasi Allah Abbas and others, said they know their affairs better. And these are great imams. Sheikh Wasi Allah Abbas is also recognized by the Saudi government and teaches in the Haram, and he's known for his hadith scholarship. So why is it we don't ever quote from them, or bring the real story and bring a broader picture for the people to understand? That's what a lot of brothers are interested in doing, is bringing out the various different ways to look at issues, that things are not as black as white. Black and white is some of the people make it portray some of these issues. So that's a whole nother book. I just wanted to try to address that as best as I can, and I know this has taqsir, but we just do the best we can just to make it clear for hopefully you, so you can go back to whoever you want and get a fatwa on some guy named Khalid Green and try to get him taken off the minhaj. According to you, I'm already off, and then spread it around. And of course it's going to have the reverse effect. It's just going to make more people come to my YouTube and say, who is this guy? What's going right now? There's very few followers. Leave it that way. Don't you open up your own can of worms, which goes against your own maslahah, which I'm not sure what your intent is here. You're scared about mentioning Hajuri and no, I'm scared of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is another point why I don't mention people who I know the good, because I've sat with Hajuri for limited times, and I know the good that he's brought, but again, my mokif is that I don't take knowledge from him any longer, because there are people who I see who have much more knowledge, and there are things that I see that I don't feel comfortable with. And I've voiced this on this. But is it for me? Do I have to make a big clear bayan and attack the man and try to belittle his status when perhaps Allah may love him or love some things about him? I'm not going to be responsible Yawm al-Qiyamah to please you and please the people. But I need to safeguard myself and get rid of my sins, because I've got plenty. I don't know, maybe you don't have as many as I do, so you don't have to worry about those things. It's easy for you to speak about you just taking me off the minhaj. You've taken off how many mashayikh you spoke about, Sheikh Abdurrahman Adani and Ibrahim Raheli and Halabi and blah, 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 and this and that and the other. So you're comfortable with that. That's easy for you. It's easy off your tongue. But the Prophet ﷺ, all those hadith would show us that it's important to safeguard your tongue. What brings people more into the hellfire than other things? Al-lisan wa faraj, as the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said. So being careful, I prefer to take the path of cautiousness. This is the tarbiyah also I received from so many ulama in Medina, especially. This is how they taught us. Sheikh Abdul Razak, Sheikh Abdul Muhsin, Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab Aqil, and even those mashayikh that have strong positions like Sheikh Ubaid. Sheikh Ubaid, I don't see him speaking from his hawa. I don't see that. You're not going to agree with every single thing, but I saw that he prepared and he gave dawah and he busied the people with books and teaching. You go to Sheikh Ubaid's durus, it's not all about speaking about individuals. He takes time for that, yes. He's more vocal than some other scholars, yes. But that's not the tarbiyah I got from him. I benefited from him. Also, Sheikh Salih Suhaimi, وكثير منهم غيرهم, Sheikh Ibrahim Raheli, Sheikh Suleiman Raheli, all these ulama I studied with and spent years studying under their beards and benefited from. So that's not the tarbiyah they gave us, and I will keep that tarbiyah bi'idhnillah until I die, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us tawfiq. Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Then you said I need to study. You're right. I do need to continue to study, and I think we should continue studying to gain more fiqh fi deen. I know I have khalal, and I will continue to have khalal until I'm in the grave, as we all do. May Allah guide us. Ameen. And bless us with tawfiq. He said, blah, 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 spoken about individual mistakes in Aqidah, yet the advice of Masakeen, blah, blah, blah. Many of your videos just show your weakness in knowledge. It would be nice if you came with some bayan and some hujjah. Anyone can say that. And perhaps, it might be true. But what I'm saying, it's easy. I could belittle you right now. I could say so many things about you, but I'm going to keep my tongue because it's no benefit. I have to show an upper hand. I could say, well, you've illustrated your weakness in this. In fact, and if you look at some of the statements of some of those very websites that you see they don't give ihtiram when they're making a refutation. You look at the way the language they use against Shadi Muhammad Tahir, Muhammad Munir, Aqil Walker, kathir min tulab al-ilm. I know over the years, and at 1 minute you're with him, and the next minute you're off it. And when you're off it, you're through. There's no ihtiram. I saw what one of the particular brothers wrote about Munir, Muhammad Munir. Instead of saying you know, there's some mistakes here, having some insaf. What did he say? He called him the ahmak, the, you know, ignoramus, the, you know, these really strong ibarat. So demonizing the people does not show your knowledge, nor does it raise your knowledge, nor does it raise your status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ma min shay'in athqalu fi mizan al-mu'min yawm al-qiyamah min husn al-khulq. I think that's very applicable to our situation now. That Allah hates that wicked and sinful speech, that you're excessive in your speech. You're excessive jar, you know, going beyond the bounds. And this is one of the reasons, I'll just say it right now, one of the reasons that turned me off from Hajuri over years ago. Because when he was criticizing Ma'arabi and the people who support him, instead of just dealing with his mistakes, dealing with his bid'ah, he said, piss on the heads of the companions of Abi Hassan. I heard it with my ears, okay? It's recorded, it's musajjala, it's all over. And then even when the Yemenis were trying to make islah, he said, piss on the bayan. Come on. And one of the students made a joke, wallah mistan, that was going around. He said, if we leave it up to Hajuri, the whole masjid will be filled with urine. Why? Because he uses a statement. And what I say is, I have never seen this kind of, and don't want that tarbiyah, nor what I want from my children and others, to sit under someone who's teaching you these things. Because it just doesn't, it's not the usloob of the ulama. Then his followers will say, oh, you don't know the kutub of Jar wa Ta'dil? Okay, everything has its proper place. And just because strong ibarat from the Salaf are used does not make that a hujjah, that is not a dalil, because do you have those same types of ibarat from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, who were ordered to follow, were commanded without doubt to follow his sunnah and the sunnah of the rightly guided Khulafa Rashideen? Do we see these kind of statements? Pee on the people's heads, pee on the Yahud, pee, No, we don't see this. So for me, that was enough for me to stay away. I don't even get into all the issues that have been compiled against Hujuri, and nor do I busy myself with that, nor will I busy the people with that. If you guys want to take that to another form, go ahead. Do and benefit yourself, if that's what you call benefit. So I just want to say, and I'm sorry that even this type of thing had to even be brought out there. Again, I don't make ilzam of the people to listen to me, to listen to my opinions, any of those things. There was a last thing I feel I need to address, and I think I just deleted your email, unfortunately. Let me go back by mistake. One thing you said, and this I will say, that you need to check your knowledge and understanding of the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Minhaj of the Salaf, because you've made some of these things as Masail Salafiyya, as if they're from the usul of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, to take me off the Sunnah. He said, this many of your videos show your weakness in knowledge and lack of understanding in regards to the Minhaj of Ahl Sunnah, and you live in Dammam, right? Let's go to Sheikh Muhammad bin Ramzan, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, Sheikh Ubaid. Sheikh Ubaid is not here. Sheikh Rabi is not here. Why don't you go to them? I don't have any ashkal. I don't have any problems with what I've said. If you have a problem with what I said, take it to the ulama. I'm not debating about these issues. That's not even open for me. If you have an issue, go. And if I were, why don't we go to senior scholars? Let's go to Fawzan. You know, if you want to take a trip with me, I'll be glad to go see Fawzan if I can make time at some point, and we can go see Imam Fawzan or the Mufti of the kingdom. Or if we were in Medina, why don't we go see Sheikh Abdul Muhsin? Why do you make ta'yeen of certain scholars? Because you know already their position, and you already know what your fatwa, that it's going to yansur qawlak. Why don't you look for the haqq instead of looking for what supports your desires and your views? This is hizbiyah. This goes against the Aqidah and the creed and the minhaj of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. So don't tell me I'm not Salafi. If you're going to tell me I'm not Salafi, come to my face and say it, and we can talk it out like this as men. But don't sit on the YouTube and the thing, you're not Salafi. You're the, come on, man. We're above that. I'm sure I'm your senior, because you don't sound like somebody who's steeped in age. You sound like one of the youngsters who came to the dawah, and you just, the same old stuff. We've been dealing with this stuff for 20 years ago. We dealt with the same kind of stuff. So we're not new to this. Don't bring this stuff. What I say to you is fear Allah. That's first and foremost. Anything that I said that's incorrect is from me and the shaitan. Anything I said that was correct was from Allah Azza wa Jal. And we ask Allah the Almighty for guidance. I hope that this can be an eye-opener and not something that just causes people in misguidance or waste time. May Allah bless us with ikhlas, with thabat ala sunnah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Check your salafiyah.